Hello, everyone, and welcome to Developing Palettes. I am Aaron Loomis, and with me, as always, is June Liu. How you doing, June?
Good.
So this is review number 3 of the night, man. We're kind of knocking through these guys.
Yeah, we want to, for those of you that follow us and the future followers, um, we try to build up a padding of reviews so that we have enough, in the bank to hit it. So this is part of those nights, and especially after post show and after post IPCPR news and editorials, this we're back full swing and doing our reviews.
Yeah, and we had a good chunk of time for smoking time the last week or two, so that's why we're kind of really jumped up on the quantity. So
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
it's for us to get that kind of padding back. So
Yep.
we had a padding before IPCPR so that we could still publish reviews while we were at the show and not actually smoking for reviews. So we kind of exhausted that while we were there. So now we're kind of getting back on track with doing these.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's get back to the review that we're actually doing right now. So today we are talking about the Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust Mi Querida Ancho Largo. This is basically a Toro, 6-inch by 54 ring gauge. Comes out of the Naxa factory in Nicaragua. Wrapper is Connecticut broadleaf. Binder and filler both listed as Nicaragua. Not as much detail as Steve Saka provided with the Silver Mesa, but that's okay. It's blended by Steve Saka. Price point on this cigar is $9.45, and it was released at the IPCPR trade show this year, so July 2016. So with that being said, let's get into our pre-light experience. So June, what was your pre-light experience with the cigar?
Um, I thought the pre-light experience, the actual look of the cigar, was really good. And knowing how much of an anal person Saka is doesn't really surprise me. But very gorgeous Connecticut broadleaf wrapper. The wrapper itself had really good oil content, and it had this like rustic red hue to it. And I'm a total sucker for that red tint on a wrapper and that Colorado red-ish kind of a look. So dug that. The cigar felt well bunched and rolled, without any soft spots felt in a uniform give to it. The veins are really well pressed and seams invisible. Head finish off with a thick and well adhered double cap. So plenty of uh, space for me to cut throughout the smoking experience. So nosing a wrapper, I got some quality cedar, damp earth, and white pepper. Nosing the foot, white pepper, damp earth, and a sweet and grassy natural tobacco note. Cold draw, I got some dry cardboard, sweet natural tobacco, and some lip tingling white pepper spice. What about you?
Yeah, wrapper, very deep brown color. There were a few visible veins, and the seams were somewhat visible due to like a darker color that was right on the edges of the leaf in some sections, but they're very smooth. Caps were applied very nicely. The band is simple but elegant. Um, the edges almost look like the perforation on the way that the older postage stamps used to be, like the ones that you had to pull off the sheet and lick the back and stick them on something, not like the stickers that they are nowadays for
Oh,
whoever still
okay.
mails envelopes, but whatever. Um, the gold borders in the lettering, it appears to be like the same gold color that's used on the Sober Mesa band. So I don't know if I'm assuming that was by design. He's kind of trying to keep that color scheme going throughout these cigars. Um, and the navy blue background, it was a good complementary color to that gold. So look, it's a really nice band. It feels nice. I mean, it almost feels a little almost like linen a little bit. I almost want to say I heard him talking about that he went with um, that special stock for that kind of a texture on it. Aroma from the wrapper smelled of barnyard, like manure and leather. And then the foot aroma was like a very sweet hay. And then pre-light draw was a mix of light hay and leather. And there was also a fairly spicy tingle to my lips on that pre-light draw. So getting into flavor, first third through final third, what was your experience like?
Um, I thought that the first third was just it created a really like a slick and oily mouthfeel. I got a lot of rich, meaty, full body flavors of damp earth, dried cocoa, tongue layering, mild white pepper, and a really rich cedar. The favorite part of the first stir was the retrohale. I got a slightly nose stinging white pepper. I got hay, bread, damp earth, and a slight floral note. The finish consisted of mainly white pepper, aged cedar, and dried cocoa. So still within the first third, about an inch in, I got this really great like a biscuit note, like a biscuit consistency and sweetness, kind of a thing going on. So like perhaps like a shortbread, and this note carried throughout the entire first third afterwards. Strength at a solid medium, and like I said, within a body at a medium plus. Moving on to the second third, is namely on pace with the first third. Still got an abundance of damp earth, tongue layering mild white pepper, and rich cedar. The dry cocoa that I had within the first third is transitioned into more of a milk chocolate, which was nice because it gave like a nice creaminess to it. Through the nose, still that same tasty, slightly nose stinging white pepper, hay, bread, damp earth, and a little bit of floral. Finish still a very, it was a balanced white pepper that was namely on the rear palate, aged cedar and dry cocoa. Body's at a medium full, and strength still at a medium. So moving on to the last third, it basically mimicked the second third, but the cedar transitions from a rich and aged cedar to more of like a more of a raw, fresh cut, sharp cedar. So in addition to that sharp cedar, I still got the damp earth, tongue layering, mild pepper, white pepper in the milk chocolate. Same retrohale of that, a little bit of that nose, stinging white pepper, hay, bread, damp earth, and slight floral. Finish still very balanced white pepper on the rear palate, sharp cedar and dry cocoa. Body continuously medium plus, and strength being just a solid medium. But overall, within these notes that kind of keep coming up within the entire cigar, it was very it was interesting because of the mouthfeel that I wanted to hone in on, because I feel like a really good Connecticut broadleaf will give me a fuller mouthfeel, that there's that richness and there's like a slick, oily aspect of it. And that's what I really dug about this one since first draw.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, initial draws brought a lot of pepper and wood. After a few draws, the pepper settled down slightly, and a little black coffee came in to mix with the pepper and the wood. A half inch in, the pepper is really just kind of a background note. And then the coffee morphed into an earthiness along with some wood. Retrohale carried a little bit more pepper and also some wood. And then at an inch in, the earthiness kind of reverted back to coffee along with the wood. I was also getting a slightly chalky finish in my mouth. An inch and a quarter in, the coffee and the wood morphed into a slightly charred oak. And that same profile is also kind of what the retrohale was consisting of. And then nearing the end of the third, a dry cocoa powder joined in with that slightly charred oak. And the strength in the first third was kind of right at medium for me. And then getting into the second third, it began, the slightly charred oak kind of goes back to the earthiness that I was getting before. But the cocoa was still in the background, and the retrohale was still primarily oak as well. Half inch in, earthiness moved back to oak, and the cocoa from the background had gone away. And then at an inch in, the profile kind of continued to alternate between that earthiness and that charred oak. And then an inch and a half in, we were back to that earthy profile, and it became even dirtier than it was before. The retrohale just is kind of keep going along as just kind of that oak flavor. And as the second third was coming to a close, that dirty, earthy profile remained there. And then the strength kind of just bumped up a little bit to just above medium. And then getting into the final third, It went back to the oak profile, but there wasn't any char to it. And then a half inch in, the profile kind of went back to that earthy note, but not as dirty as what I was getting previously. And then an inch in, things went back to that slightly charred oak, and the retrohale remained just a straight oak for me. And then as the cigar came to a close, that slightly charred oak profile remained, and the strength had continued to move up to a medium full range. So it kind of just slowly, kind of a linear increase in strength as the cigar went along. So getting into performance, burn and draw, what was your experience like?
I thought the construction in general was really good. Starting with the burn, very good burn. I had a 2.5 hours of smoking time, which is kind of in line within the rate that I smoke for reviews. It's pretty consistent. Had a really strong and sturdy ash, averaging 1.5 inch increments. Burn was slightly wavy within the first third, but it corrected itself on the second and last third. So, good burn in general. And in terms of the draw is perfect. I like a cigar where when I draw on it, I could tell that I'm drawing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I pull on it, even if I have a hard pull or like a soft pull, that it feels like I'm still drawing at the same pace.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. And rarely cigars hit that mark for me, but this one did. So but overall, great construction.
Yeah. Yeah, the burn for me was pretty much perfect. No attention necessary. It was nice and straight the entire way through. It was just, picture perfect. The ash held on. It was just like slightly over an inch, and then it would, kind of drop off for me. So I think that was a good length for it. The draw was tight the entire way, though, for me. I mean, I tried a draw tool to loosen it up, but that didn't have any effect for me. But I don't think it affected any of the flavors. I could be mistaken if I had a slightly looser draw, and maybe I would have gotten a few more nuances. But it was tight. What were you gonna do? I didn't want to like really go to town on it with the draw tool, but I think it worked out in the end. So overall experience, what was yours like?
So when I wrote up the overall experience notes, it took me a while to write it, and I erased what I originally wrote. And I'm not going to share with you what I originally wrote. No, I will share with you, but I'm not going to share it online. But I thought that. So I thought that let's just talk about the Mi Querida for now, and then I want to benchmark it against other broadleaf cigars.
Okay.
So I found the cigar to be more of a rough around the edges version of the Sobremesa.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is I'm not saying that there's a sharpness to it that spiked. I'm talking more about, I felt like this version gave more of a dankness to it, right? Dankness in the sense of that oily, slick feel in the mouth. The chocolate, the dry cocoa, the milk chocolate. Whereas I felt like the Sobremesa Pyramid one was more of like a chocolate brownie, perhaps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I even wrote that on my notes for that Sobremesa one that we had. And really, for my palate, I prefer the Sobremesa, especially in the Cervantes Fino one,
Mm-hmm.
and the Americano one that we reviewed.
Right.
But with this cigar, I mean, ever since I first drew on it, it consistently performed, and it gave me those notes throughout the entire smoking experience. But when I say I prefer more the Sobremesa, I prefer that because I feel like that's more of a refined and balanced profile that I typically would lean towards. And I'm surprised that I like a Connecticut broadleaf cigar this much, because I'm typically not, when I smoke for pleasure, I typically don't take a broadleaf and smoke it.
Right.
So I don't know if all that stuff that I just said makes sense.
Sure.
And then also, this being what, $9.45 for what, like a fatter Toro.
Yep.
Great price.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
what about you?
Yeah, so this was back to broadleaf for Steve Saka. So I think this is kind of what people thought his first release was going to be like, so going back to the broadleaf and all that stuff. So, and I think this was successful for him. Primarily charred oak, dirty earthiness that made for an enjoyable profile. I just wish the draw was better on the sample I smoked. Yours was good. So, obviously, I smoked one previously. I actually smoked one at the show. Draw was good on that one. So, I think I maybe just kind of got a bum one here. But, obviously my other experience was good. So, for fans of broadleaf or cigars with a darker profile, I think this is a must try. It's got some strength to it. So, if you're not into the nicotine, you might want to stay away. But for those that like it or like those dark flavors, this is something to try. Definitely recommend it as a later in the day smoke. And I definitely think that this would pair well with like a dark spirit, or brown spirit or coffee. So yeah, I think that would be good. So getting into scores, you gave this cigar an 8.53. I gave it a 6.60. How do you think your score matched up with your experience?
So it is a very high score that I gave it.
Yeah.
It is surprisingly high, but I still stand by it because I feel like the cigar just technically performed great, and the notes that it delivered it in such a consistent manner.
Mm-hmm.
And typically, within these cigars that we smoke, is knowing that the new release cigars, especially, the last third kind of tapers off, for me anyways, or the profile gets a little sharp. And I kind of expected that to happen with the cigar, but it didn't. And I really appreciated that aspect of it. So that helped a lot. But so I think about the best cigar that I scored ever so far for our website,
right?
Which is at Diplomatico Asia Pacific Bushido, the Cuban cigar. So I don't think I've ever rated a flavor like the most important part of the cigar, which is first, second, last third of the flavors, right?
Right.
I never rated, except for that Bushido, that I thought had amazing flavors.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, with that Bushido, that amazingness from the first third, it tapered off as the cigar got smoked.
Right.
Whereas this Mi Querida, it was just very good consistently throughout the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
But very different. And I still stand by the rating that I gave it, but it's for very different reasons than I scored the Bushido.
Right.
So, anyways.
Yeah, I think my score fits well with my experience. It's still a good score. It just wasn't the same experience that I had with the one I smoked in Vegas. Flavors were good. It was really just kind of an alternation between that charred oak and that earthiness that I was getting. The dirtiness of the earthiness, kind of in that second third. You say dirty, people think, oh, that's not good. I enjoy that. It works well for me. So it's a good flavor when I kind of describe it that way. So I mean, cigar is good. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I mean, I prefer the Sobremesa over this, but I mean, they're not really the same cigar. They're just cigars from the same guy, same company. So,
Exactly.
You don't typically compare them against each other. They're different cigars. So they're different profiles. So yeah. But I think everybody wants to do, kind of wants to do that. They want to compare a first release to their second release. Does it match up? All that kind of stuff. But I don't know if that's necessarily a fair comparison. So I say treat them as different cigars because they are different. They're, the whole profile is different, different factories, different tobaccos. So take that for what it is. But like you said, price point on the cigar is good, sub $10. For a decent size cigar. I mean, a slightly larger than standard Toro. So what was your smoking time on this? It was like, it had to have been a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting your money's worth on smoking time and the flavors and the profile. So I'll definitely be smoking more of these cigars. I think that a lot of other people will be smoking them. You'll see reviews from all the other guys out there. I already know that Rob from SickFed, gave this a really high score. So it's definitely got already a following, and I think that's well deserved. Cigar's good, plus follow up to a great cigar on Sober Mesa. So all in all, good. I'd say give it a shot, especially with June's experience. And I think the construction will be the typical construction will be more along the lines of what June had. I think I may have had more of an outlier, so I wouldn't take mine as kind of the law of what the cigar would smoke like. So, any other final thoughts from you?
No, I also say I also smoked one of these at the trade show with you, and I had no construction issues with it. But I didn't like it that much at the show. I mean, granted, I didn't like most of the cigars that I smoked at the show because of the over there. But yeah, just want to hit the mark.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. If you're just catching this video on YouTube, be sure to check out the full written review on the website, developingpalates.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You'll get notified every time we post up one of these review recaps or any of our other videos. Follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Google+. Thank you for watching, and we will catch you on the next video.